Where am I? It's my backyard. Fuck.
Blah! The Slenderman was me the entire time! Well, if you're the Slenderman, then who's holding the camera? Hey guys, it's Sunday again. Hopefully that intro wasn't too spoopy for you. I just really wanted to do something based on how I ended my last entry. Not a whole lot happened this week. I studied, I got a little bit of cosplay work done, and I watched all the Firefly series and its movie Serenity. It was great, and I especially loved the movie. It just really sucks that it's all over. But yeah, not a very interesting week, so today will mostly be just me answering questions. Justin asked, what's your favorite League of Legends quote? Honestly, I don't think I've played enough League of Legends for any character's quote to have had any real lasting impression on me, but after a bit of research, I found this piece of wisdom from Yasuo.
There are three certainties in life: honor, death, and hangovers.
Very well said. Jason asked, who is your favorite video game villain? That's easy. Dracula from the Castlevania series. Not only is he one of the most well-known incarnations of evil, at least from pop culture, and is literally the Prince of Darkness, but in every Castlevania game, you know from the very beginning that your quest is going to end with you facing against the Count in some way or another. I'm just going to skip over Lauren's question and save it for last for now, because it's probably going to make the biggest part of this episode. Curtis asked, what anime are you currently watching? I'm not watching anything right now because I've been busy watching Firefly and doing other stuff. But if you want a suggestion, my favorite series is Yu Yu Hakusho. Trust me, it's really good. AJ asked, if you could choose any one Pokemon to have by your side for the rest of your life, which would it be? Definitely Absol. Ever since I caught one in Soul Silver, it's been my favorite Pokemon. I have two questions from Nicole, one I missed last week and one from yesterday. Where did the name Fenrisilver or Fenris come from? I had a few, pretty weird screen names back in the day, and trust me, DP Fangirl, you have nothing on me. Inuyasha Demon, Chibi Van Helsing, MK Forest, and Aruthis was the last one before Fenris, but I came up with Fenrisilver actually not as a username, but originally as part of a guild name for World of Warcraft. The name Fenrir was starting to pop up in pop culture around that time, like in Final Fantasy and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Fenrir's full name, after I looked it up, is Fenrisulfur, and I sort of did a play on that. And yesterday she asked, favorite TV show growing up? Definitely Reboot. Hands down. Now for Lauren's question. She asked us to show off an object that brings us the greatest amount of nostalgia, and honestly, this was difficult for me at first. I mean, when I first heard nostalgia, I instinctively started considering what objects that I still have that really remind me of my childhood. I mean, I could have shown off something like my Pokedex, or my Ocarina. Then Lauren told me to read a comment that had been left on her video.
Warning! The rest of this video is going to get really sentimental. Please leave if you have an aversion to feelings.
Our friend Bongo Guy, or Schwa, which, by the way, is the shorthand we use for Joshua since he asked us to explain it, had this to say. Hands down, most nostalgic thing I own is the Dragon Quest V game for the Super Famicom that was given to me by Zach. Dragon Quest is my favorite RPG game series, and having the best rated one of all the series makes me feel amazing, even if I can't play it since I don't own a Super Famicom. When Zach gave it to me as a Christmas gift, I was literally flabbergasted and couldn't speak. This game reminds me of how many hundreds of thousands of hours I've strained to continue grinding to be a nerd, and also of my amazing friends I have. As I am typing this, Dragon Quest V is on my shelf right now in a glass case, immortalized forever, or until I have to move it. But it always reminds me of the great times of nerdy activities with all my pals. Literally, I couldn't ask for a better gift. Thank you, Zach, and all other pals. That was really sweet, Schwa. I'm still really glad you like that present. But anyways, that comment of yours helped me decide what item I should show for this challenge. I have played a lot of games which I have said are my favorites, and while the one I'm choosing today is a fantastic game, it's important to me solely for its theming and the way it was introduced to me. Enter the life of Zachary Taylor, May 2011. I'm a failing art student, one semester away from eventually dropping out. I have very few friends and a very severe case of depression. I just didn't feel like my life had any purpose. One day, as part of my summer course on art exhibits, I venture out to Vancouver to the Van Art Gallery. Later that day, I meet up with my cousins and we spend the afternoon together. And later that day, I meet for the first time my cousin's best friend, who would later become one of my best friends. The four of us do a cooperative let's play of a long-forgotten JRPG, which created the foundation and format that would later be used in a small but well-liked YouTube show. That day was really special to me in a lot of ways, but one particular exchange of words will forever be burned into my memory.
Pretty badass.
And it's probably one of the best RPGs on Super Nintendo.
My favorite is Terranigma.
I mean, that's pretty good too.
Well, what about Chrono Trigger?
Ooh, that's right.
Never played it.
Don't we have to... What?
I had never played it, never given it consideration, and I was certainly weary and skeptical of it. But the following day, Phil sent me on my way with a copy of Chrono Trigger for the DS, and I couldn't put it down. In fact, if I recall, it was one of the first JRPGs I ever beat. But the story doesn't end there. Almost a year later, Phil surprises me half to death by giving me this for my birthday. I was so happy. I remember my reaction was basically the same way that Schwa reacted when I gave him Dragon Quest V. And I remember popping it into my SNES that night, playing for hours, and naming every character after one of my friends. As for what I said about the game's theming, I would really like to explain what I meant by that. Most RPGs from the time starred an average, unassuming kid who comes from a small, peaceful village and sets out to be a hero. And Chrono is exactly that. At the start of the game, he seems completely unimportant and inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. But Chrono Trigger's tale is more to me than just a everyday kid saving the world. To me, it's about him making friends and slowly discovering himself. Self-discovery is a theme that really resonates with me in fiction. Trying to find out who you are and how much you mean to people is something I think most of us can relate to. And that's probably why The Last Starfighter is my favorite movie.
For every Earthling who's ever imagined traveling beyond the stars,
maybe there is a starfighter left.
I love you, Alex Rogan.
comes the unforgettable story of one who made it. The Last Starfighter.
Back to Chrono Trigger. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a big moment closer to the end of the game where Chrono is almost lost by the party. And they do everything in their possible power to save him, because he's important to them. My life has really changed since the day I started playing this game. I mean, sure, I'm still struggling to learn skills and get into a career, but simply having made so many new friends in the past 3 years, and especially being part of silly productions like this. Forgive my hubris, but it makes me feel like I'm Chrono, like I'm important in some way. I said on stage at SakinoCon this year that without friends, there would be no Fenris, and maybe now you can understand why. You're all the main characters of your own stories, and it's possible that in your story, I'm just a small side character, and that's totally fine, really. But in my story, you're all just one of a huge cast of major characters, and I want this story to be a grand tale of adventure. Whether it holds more turmoil or triumph for us, that's left to be seen. So yeah, this game gives me a big dose of nostalgia because it reminds me of the person that I used to be, the person that I'm lucky to have become, and most importantly, how much you, my friends, mean to me. Okay, that's my sentiment session over. My question for you all this week is, what is your favorite piece of video game music? That's it this week, so I'll see you guys next Sunday.